in Ping William, Ato in Juba, Malatori, hey, I'm yo, in Ping William, Ato in Benti, Walla Quaju, hey, wow, in Ping William, Ato in Malkal, Walla Pinyaram, in Ping William.
Okay. How are you, Dr. Andy John?
Yes.
How you doing? Ping, Dr. Sunday.
In a ping, I hear you so well.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Okay, welcome to Lake State Media.
Don't know in network issue.
Dr. Sun.
Yes.
Yes, welcome to Lake State Media. And before we start our topic, I believe this is not your first time to be here. You've been here a number of times with us. And I hope our audience are here to hear from you. They know who you are. But before that, I will give you 1 minute to greet them and introduce yourself. Then we start. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Brother Polmakura Chen, and the entire fraternity of Lake State Media. To introduce myself, there is nothing much I can say other than telling the audience that I am Sandy Dijon and I am back again, the chairman of South Sudan United Front Progressive. I am back today to share with you on matters of our country. And so here I am at your disposal. You can be able to ask me questions that I can as well respond to or attempt to respond to. I'm glad being back again and very appreciative to the team of Lake State Media for having me once more in this year. So here I am. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sandy John, the chairman of South Sudan United Front Progressive. I know that you've been the chairperson of that party, and you broke away last year from the same party, and then you restructured it again, isn't it?
Yes, I am the head of my faction. South Sudan United Front Stroke Army was formerly one under the leadership of General Paul Malone, and because of the political circumstances, we ended up parting ways, and that does not mean politics has stopped, because politics that we are doing is meant to create a positive change in the Republic of South Sudan. It doesn't matter if you have parted ways or not. So now I am heading this faction as Malone hits the other, and we continue working for the good of our country in our own small and big ways. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sunday. I know that there were talks in Rome last month, and you were not there. What happened to Rome talks, especially the roundtable conference?
Well and good. In the previous month, there were negotiations because the resumption of Rome process was initiated following the visit of Pope Francis to the Republic of South Sudan. And having called for the comprehensive peace to return to the country, it was accepted on the side of the government, who once praised the process secondary to the attacks that happened on the roads of South Sudan, basically, normally Juba Road. And the talks were suspended indefinitely, right, but they were later revived in the previous month with the hope that they will resume again on the 8th of May, 2023. The talks were resumed basically for the purposes of acquaintancing of the parties that have been far apart following the indefinite suspension. And so they went back and they discussed with each group returning to their locations, hoping for the next return. I think that was what happened, and it did not happen in May. It becomes a point of speculation because May 8th has already passed, and the whole matter is not known to the public, including myself. But as you read the political scenarios that are happening in the country, one can make a comprehensive conclusion that there has been other issues that have come up that could have derailed either of the factions that came to the negotiation on the previous sitting. And I believe before 8th, Dr. Barnaba was in the United Kingdoms, as we learned from the media, to attend the coronation of the King, His Majesty Charles, the King of England, right, and other nations. So that could have been the reason, or maybe a political, technical aspect that could have led to the complacency or the placidity of the process. I think so. So, but the main matter would be these coronation that came at the time that was not expected, because the schedules are not one, since they are not being run by one country. And since the United Kingdom is significant in terms of bilateral relation to our country, the Republic of South Sudan, a possibility of Dr. Barnaba having attended that as a matter of priority would have come up. And I think it is one of the reasons that can be cited as to why the peace agreement was a little bit stopped, or peace talks rather were stopped.
Thank you, Dr. Sunday, for such a great answer. Are there hopes for the country on Rome's forums?
Well, the Rome Forum was offered as a platform for South Sudanese to come together so that they can be able to negotiate and understand from the root of the conflict what has transpired and what not, so that they can be able to build a consensus and reach an agreement that can lead to a complete settlement of the conflict that has been raging on for a long time. And it was capturing a few of the oppositions that did not like how Khartoum agreement was signed. And basically the whole out groups plus us, myself, Gerald Malong, we were mapped as we were not part of the process that was happening between Addis Ababa and Khartoum in the previous sitting, because the mapping was done in 2017, coming to 2018 earlier, before the establishment of sub-progressive. So we were not part of the current peace that is being implemented. That is specifically for South Sudan United Front Stroke Army. But the other groups like General Thomas Cirillo and those that are associated with him were actually part of the peace process in Khartoum, including General Pagana Mom and others like General Oyai, but they could not be contented with the process itself and perhaps how it was done, given that there were things that were not adding up in a right way. And at last, they remained outside while the peace agreement was signed, and those who have signed it started the implementation process. And the Rome process later on was initiated after we had a convergence in a place called Hague, so that we come together as opposition so we can be able to challenge the government of South Sudan from one perspective. But that became the birth of Rome process after we issued jointly with the community of Santi Gidio what we refer to as joint communique in around 2019, 2020, early there. But because of the matters of COVID-19 and other things, the process was put to a halt until it resumed later. And following a lot of divisions within oppositions, there were negotiations that were coming in parts. For example, Malong Pagan were one faction that were having their negotiations in Naivasha, and also General Thomas and the rest were continuing in Rome. But eventually, nothing was achieved except the two documents that were signed. The first one was referred to as Rome Declaration. That was it was around January 12th or December, late December in Rome, and it was a cessation of hostilities that would give the parties the opportunity to sit down and negotiate without being hostile towards one another. And it was a recommitment to an agreement, a part of the current agreement that is being implemented that is called COHA. So this reaffirmation was followed up now with the Rome Resolution. Rome Resolution was also a way forward for the same resolution that, for declaration that was made to commit to cessation of hostilities. So these organizations that are now not at peace with the government were given the opportunity to participate in what we called monitoring of the forces that could be hostile to the other, and they were to be included in the monitoring and verification mechanism of the IGAD. So that thing was the second one, but the Rome process did not move beyond that because the parties that are outside were privy that this would be used by the government as a benchmark to stage its attack on the forces. Because if the monitors from the faction that have not signed the agreement were to be included in the joint monitoring and verification mechanism, they can easily be asked as a requirement of the regulations of that institution to show where their forces are and how they can be prevented from attacking the other forces. And the vice versa is also true. So the parties became suspicious of each other. And eventually, the 15 members that were to be incorporated in the mechanism could not go up to today. If they have gone, is a secret. I do not know whether it is a public matter. So I do not know whether they have gone as per that. But from that time, the current organizations, basically, General Paul Malong jointly with Pagan and Thomas Cirillo jointly with Emmanuel Ajawin, became so adamant that they do not want any South Sudanese to participate in the peace process except themselves. That is what they have gone for. And I think that one is a result of lack of agenda, because there is no agenda that has been devised, and the few that are confusing generals claiming to be expert in one or two things have made it even harder for the generals, because they will chip a point from point A to point B. Then we were looking to at the problem of South Sudan from the roots, and we were saying that we need the problem to be addressed from the root causes, not just as it was done in Khartoum, because the peace talks in Khartoum were not systematic. There were vested interests from the regional actors, basically President Bashir, the ex-president of Sudan, and President Museveni of Uganda. They were involved now in cohesive kind of peace agreements, and the oppositions were put at a corner where they could not even negotiate, but only to sign the document that was pre-prepared. So when they did that one, the other groups that thought it was wise to keep away from an agreement that would give the resources of South Sudan, for example, Bashir was scoring a lot of points for himself before even the agreements could kick off itself. So those preconditions plus many other things, including the internal political misunderstanding and miscalculations from point A and point B, made it harder for some of the oppositions to agree and go to Juba just like the rest. And they have always been in a position to stress that rejecting this agreement that is being implemented between President Salva Kiir and Dr. Riek Machar of the SPLM-IO that agreement is actually in question, and that is why the implementation is very difficult. So they have foreseen that one. That is what they see. But from outside here now, they were saying they will address the problem. That is what we all say. We will address the problem of South Sudan from the roots. What is it that has caused South Sudanese to be in conflict among themselves? That was the question we used to ask. And we devised a number of issues. We knew there were political matters. We knew there were matters associated with the security. We knew there were matters that are associated to the humanitarian aspect of the country, plus so many other things, including the constitutional making process, and perhaps a political ideology that will be used to govern the country. As some were saying, federal system is needed, although it has been hinted in the agreement, it has not been given a popular definition that is expected by a number of oppositions that are not signatories currently. And due to that matter, we were able to formulate a groundwork that we assume would be an agenda that will be discussed. But that did not work because after time, some wise people advised these generals that there has to be a roundtable conference. And this roundtable conference is the one that we will use, and it will give us the platform to achieve the peace in the country. But the roundtable conference, according to the advocates that have gone out there to talk about it, is a stillbirth. It cannot produce results, having been seen from right and left angles. And these are the reasons for it. One, you are conducting a roundtable conference, okay? And the parties that are calling for it have excluded several parties that are more than them. For example, General Gadwich Dual is a warring party, and he is not in the agreement. Although he was part of Riek, he is not in the country. And if we need peace, the war that are being fought under his name, from the Kitgwang aspect to other parts of Upper Nile, are not giving South Sudan the stability and peace that we desire. Is Rome process interested in bringing peace? Why is General Gadwich Dual not on board? Another question is, there is General Stephen Kwai, who was fighting in Mayom and likely to fight many other times. Is he on board? No. People like us and the other institutions have been excluded as a matter of discrimination, perhaps because the parties that are currently there are just a rubber stamp that are trying to advocate for a tribal agenda. They would not want to see the elements of other tribes that are supposed to be part of the opposition to be there. It's an issue of tribalism. The agenda become too small. That is one. Number two, these parties that claim now to be out there for a roundtable conference have a lot of cracks. The cracks are very simple. One of them, they are calling the roundtable conference on what they call government of technocrats. Okay. Sorry, who is calling?
Nobody calling on my side. We are listening to you.
Okay. There is what they call government of technocrats. This government of technocrats does not truly have a foundation, because Riek Machar, Kir Mayar, plus the members of SOA and the OPPs are currently implementing an agreement. You claim to call them to sit with you around the table, and you deny other South Sudanese the opportunity to participate, and now you are calling for a government of technocrats, where one of these opposition will be the head, okay? And you tell Kir and Riek to go home. How possible is it? When did it become possible? These are things that are only meant to prolong the conflict and to create more and more problems for the country. If at all this opposition have an agenda, where is it? Did you people of Lake State media see it? You are a media entity. Has it been made public? No. An agenda like when we were having peace talks in Kenya here during Dr. John Garang time. There was an agenda on the table. We had protocols. People have started to discuss what they call Machakos protocol. The content was known. People sat down to talk about other protocols, from power sharing, from wealth sharing, from security, and all the other ones, tackled one by one. But here there is no agenda. People will go and make what we call declaration of principles. It has been done more than once. What are these principles? It is just a mere doggedness of people who have studied law that manifest arrogance from a vacuum. You see, this is what is happening. Here, there is no real negotiation that has ever been done in Rome. People have never talked about issues of South Sudan. People only go there to see each other's face, and there is nothing that can be expressed from the side of the government, from the side of the opposition. The government of South Sudan is very technical, is very cunning. The elements that come to represent them, let me respectfully call them the delegation that come from them, will always come and sit and say they don't have a problem. It is the opposition that have the problem, so they should define it for us. And the opposition are incapable of making a definition, okay? Because they are, first of all, occupied with the tribal sentiments. They do not have a bigger picture and an outlook to look at things from the perspective of somebody who wants solution for his country. The agenda is too small, okay? It is too tribal, it is too trivial, and it cannot help the country, okay? A name too.
Somebody calling you?
Yeah, I don't know this person. I have never known him before. I don't know.
Aniem to kindly give us chance so Dr. Sunday can briefly explain the problem of the Rome declarations. Yeah. Thank you.
So Rome has been merged. Santigidio is a lay organization with interest to serve South Sudanese and help them achieve peace. They have done it elsewhere. Their mechanism is simple. They make the warring parties sit down and reflect about the goodness of their country and what they can do to make it peaceful. That is their definition, which is always acceptable. They offer the table for South Sudanese to sit. Now South Sudanese have turned the table. They do not want others to participate. Could it be greed? Could it be that they know South Sudan so much? They are very much gifted with the ability to liberate the rest, and the rest should not participate. That is a factor. Factor number two is that the agenda is not being brought to the table. Because one, the peace agreement that is there is the one being scratched from the back. There is nothing new. If it is security arrangement, it is only the deepening of the talks so that people can be able to see which one is the best mechanism that would be implied. More so, it is met with a lot of impossibilities. For example, you want to throw away the whole army and the police and the rest of the units, and then you start from zero by saying that this tribe will take 50%. This tribe, if we want an army whose size is 300,000, okay, we will now say a community also will get this, a community also will get that. That is not how armies are structured. And what will we do to the current ones there? Will we chase them home and then start from zero? We will not be able to manage that one because they will defeat us. They will fight. They are South Sudanese like us. What we are supposed to do is we are supposed to be thinking in a positive manner. A positive manner is visit agreements that we have done before and others that have happened elsewhere. Were they national or tribal? If they are tribal, let's proceed with the tribe if it will help anybody. This issue of tribe will not make Rome work. Currently, it becomes a table that is only hosting specific people. Just if we go by names, we will be able to know. Malung is only a conformist. He is an appendage. He is attached there because of political reasons to be relevant. You understand? But he has nothing to say there. Say what? Because there is no agenda to be discussed. The same thing with other South Sudanese. This process is actually designed in a way that it can only be an engagement to create a forum to see faces. But there are no honest kind of sittings that have happened. Because the government of South Sudan does not come with anything. They come to sit and listen. The oppositions go also with nothing. And this war that they are hoping for, they cannot win. Okay? You will only be ambushing innocent people on the roads, kill elderly women, shoot at cows, and you end up scoring nothing. There is no point in it.
But I want to bring you back to the round table because Junubi need to understand something about round table, and I would like you to be very brief because when round tables idea comes, the opposition become more divided. When other parties that call themselves non-signatories call for roundtable conference, are they inclusive? Can you justify your answer, please? That's where my interest is. There is a roundtable, and the reason why my interest based on it is because
a roundtable conference is actually a product of a meeting that we conducted. And through that meeting, I came to know the discriminative nature of non-signatories. First of all, we initiated this and we discussed it among ourselves, basically with the PCCA, with our wallet. We ended up agreeing on a day where a meeting would be conducted. Before that meeting, I was 30 minutes later approached by a wallet on demand of Pagana Mom that they do not need me to be part of the talks. I mean, to be part of the meeting that will happen on counts that I am a splinter group and they were working for a reconciliation here and there. And I said, Pagan has been wise by his standards, but he cannot cheat me. There is no any other thing that is ongoing. So here we had to go in the meeting, but with a status quo. Eventually, they ended up saying that these groups will not participate. Basically, Dr. Lama Call and others like myself and other groups will not participate. That thing alone is a conflict. How do you exclude other oppositions and you want South Sudanese to solve a problem? That is myopic. It does not achieve any objective, and it is objectiveless in the real sense. Now the roundtable conference is a sitting of people or institutions to discuss on matters of importance to an entity, maybe a country like South Sudan. That is the basic concept. But this roundtable has been impregnated time and again with the loaded expectations that do not even include the rest. If you really want to solve the problem of South Sudan and you leave Gadwich Dual with multitudes of forces, you leave others, and you want to say that you will convince the white man to go to South Sudan and remove Salpa and put you there, so you implement the government of technocrats with very few ministers, so they can be able maybe to shape the constitution. Is that going to happen? It's not going to happen. That is why I refer to it as a myopic stillbirth process that cannot produce results. Because when you are dealing with a situation, do not deal with the situation as somebody who think that the rest that are dealing with you do not have brains. You have to do something that would be able to permit compromise, something that would generate a possibility for agreement, something that would bring cohesiveness to the nation. By bringing an agenda of value on the table, nobody will refuse to support it. But if your agenda is sinister, then you cannot achieve a goal. That is exactly what this roundtable conference is. From here, we don't accept it. And maybe the government of South Sudan will accept it. We don't have a problem. It's their side, but we will oppose it together with them. Because it does not include South Sudanese. It is selfish. It does not have a defined goal. It does not have objectives. There are no right plans. It is being just put there. Just Beshakush, Bebunia, Ushalut. It has to go through. Does that make sense? You exclude us. You think it will go? We are South Sudanese like you. And we have not nominated you. We have only met through the process that we call opposition of the government, because our country has been affected by wars and also underdevelopment. And we counted this on Kir, and now we are contributing to it. How good is it? Okay. Oppositions that do not come together cannot achieve anything. And that is exactly why roundtable conference cannot be embraced by anyone. And that is why I am talking here that this roundtable conference is a stillbirth. Okay, it is a calculation of a selfish politician somewhere in the middle that would want to score certain goals. If they are for peace, why do they chase people away from Santiago's table? Why? Okay, because of sinister motive and because the agenda is tribal. During the liberation struggle, Dr. John Garang incorporated all the Sudanese, regardless of where they come from. They were Nubians. They were part of the process. There were other communities, including Arabs, okay, like Dr. Mansour Khalid, like General Yasser Arman. There are people from Engasan. You know very well Malik Agar and the rest. You know very well the sons of Nuba, headed by Kwa Makki and Karan Adam Abdulaziz Al-Hilwa. They are not South Sudanese, plus all the sections of South Sudan. They were there. But how is liberation struggle supposed to be discriminated and then achieve an objective? Okay. We cannot.
Thank you, Doctor.
Yes, we cannot create change through roundtable conference. We have to think bigger than that. That one is too small, tribal, and it is not going to be productive.
Thank you, Doctor. Why the Republic of South Sudan accept to negotiate with the rest and left the rest out?
Well, that is not a question I can answer.
Why?
First of all, what happened?
Because it should be if they want to bring peace, they should incorporate all the parties. And the reason why I ask this is because of your party. Your party was left out during Naibacha, isn't it? And was left out during Rome negotiations. Anyway, we can move to another question, and that's why I am thinking, why they kept leaving it out? And
well,
not you only, but some 2 to 3 rebels group being left out. Why the government don't tell them that if you guys are not inclusive, we are not negotiating with you?
Well, that is a point that government can really answer well. But from the angle that we have seen, one, there are a number of factors involved. The government of South Sudan is cunning and is not interested to negotiate with a formidable front. A united opposition would create an impact positively that can affect the government in one way or another. So if they see disorganized oppositions, the way the oppositions are disorganized by the current big fish who truly were part of the government of South Sudan, and if there were problems to be solved, they are themselves the problem, they decided to accept. Okay, that is how I view it. One, they pose a threat because they kill innocent people on the roads. Okay, so the matter is, if you are armed or if you are associated through the attachment to an armed opposition, you are likely going to be on the table. Okay, if you are not killing people, you can just be there for the purpose of being there. That is what is happening now. The government of South Sudan did not call us for the reasons they best know. Okay, for the reasons that we cannot answer, for the reasons that they can explain better. But the fact is, they are not going to achieve peace because there will be futility in place. And that is what we call futile cycle. A futile cycle is when you address one problem and new one pops up. You address a portion of it, the other one is just there. It is like you are amputating a person whose leg was affected by the cancer. When you know this cancer is metastatic, it has reached somewhere in the lungs or in the brain, and you want to cut the leg away, hoping that this cancer will go away. That is not how it works. They have never defined a comprehensive definition. More so, the mediators themselves have believed in the current people on the table, and they are the ones that instruct them not to bring people on the negotiation table. Okay? They are the ones that make people not to come on the negotiation table because General Malung will say, I don't want Sunday. The mediators will accept, and it is not his table. Okay? General Pagan will say, we don't want Lama Call, and they will accept, plus other opposition. Maybe somebody will say, we don't want Gadwij Dwal. These people are privy about things that are not even real. They are dwelling so much on speculative matters. And a speculative point is a point of suspicion where you can say, oh, this one will happen if I chair with Bolmakur. These are unknown fears. They don't make any sense in the context of the national building. Okay? Number three, these oppositions here are in the Western world. Some are in the United States of America, others are in Europe, and they do not have any application on the ground. So these agreements, these talks are toying. They are things that they are toying with. They don't have a pain. You understand, Bolmakur? You are currently in Texas.
I understand
you
it, Doctor. Doctor, I understand. Doctor, I understand.
You are called, you go there.
I understood you, but you've been terming people up with the medical terms. So I believe the negotiators will have to open their dictionary.
Sorry.
Keep going.
Yeah, when you are a part-time employer in an institution, you do not have 100% commitment to the job that you are doing. The majority of the oppositions here, including the ones that are on the table, are part-time opposition. They're not full-time opposition. Okay? There are times even they suspend the peace talks because somebody is saying they have not been permitted by their employer in a certain company. How can you be a liberator when you are not ready to pursue the liberation goal with commitment and dedication, when you have other things that are more important than the liberation itself? This is where the opposition cannot create an impact. Okay? When John Garang was in Nairobi here, he doesn't work in a Kenyan company. He was only here for the reasons of safety. But he is always committed to fight the war from the front line. And we have seen him in our territories of Yerul and other areas working on his feet. Okay? But these people are those who have stolen our resources in the country. They came to the foreign countries, they bought expensive houses, they enjoy the ambience of their homes and their children around them, and then say they are liberating South Sudanese. And when you come, who is now trying to fight, real fight, they begin to be reluctant to achieve a goal. Okay? This is what is happening. How do part-time oppositions that think they will go on the streets of New York to steer Americans? Will American troops come to South Sudan and fight on their behalf? Why are they not there fighting? Me, I am closer here, and I have been to the butchers of South Sudan with the interest that we have to fight, but they become reluctant. Okay? How do ambushing 2 or 3 vehicles that are filled with the civilians that are only traveling at least to go and be refugees somewhere be a success? There has to be redefinition of this matter. Whatever they would say is null and void because they have no justification on their matters. Liberation struggle was a commitment, and it has to be a commitment now. If it is not, then it is doomed to fail.
Thank you, Dr. Sunday. How can the international community support the peace process and ensure its success?
One, the international community should exert pressure, not empty talks. They should exert pressure on the government of South Sudan. They should also exert pressure on the oppositions. Okay. When they exert pressure on the parties, there is no agreement that has ever come when you are being ego massage. When somebody is massaging your ego, you cannot think critically. And these part-time oppositions do not know the suffering of the citizens inside. They only talk about it because they have Facebook pages, they have platforms where they can address this as a matter of talk, but not practicality. Okay? Whom are you liberating if the death is not ceasing? Whom are you liberating if you have never Start your feet in the soil, feet in the soil of South Sudan to advance an agenda, either through war or through sitting down and agreeing. Lake State media, these people have never expressed any seriousness.
That's great answer, Dr. Sandy De John. And what are the steps that can be taken to promote reconciliation and healing among South Sudanese?
First of all, if you look at a fellow South Sudanese with the eyes of suspicion, and even when you have not come closer to them to know who they are, you're not a reconciliator. You are not creating change. My brother, we can never reach reconciliation until when we stop what I refer to on several counts as sobism. Sobism is a big problem in South Sudan. Lies are created and then propagated, and then they end up harming the citizens. Okay? For example, I come from Yirul, and in Yirul there are communities there, Chejatwod and Aliap. And then I say that our problem at Chit is a Liab community. And I create 1, 2, 3, 4 lies. So these communities will not be at peace. They will end up killing each other. Okay? This politics of ethnicity, that does not define the goal that will make a prosperous nation, is the biggest issue where reconciliation cannot come. Number two, it is easy to forgive, but that only comes when there is justice. We also need justice. And justice will not come. It has to be a provision of an agreement, like it was provided in the previous agreement. They call it a transitional justice, and there would be a court called hybrid court. The court would deliver justice on the atrocities committed and other injustices that have come as a result of war. This way, I can be able to forgive Bolmakur, even if I know he has killed my brother. The law would make Bol admit to his mistakes, and then we can be able to move on. There are several references. South Sudan has not gone to the extreme. You know very well, countries like Rwanda was extremely affected, and they are now at peace simply because they have a leadership. They also have a society that does not believe in sophistry. Sophistry means you say a statement, I alter it, and I put it across as a tool. You know very well, these talks here and there in social media are actually affecting the country. There are days where a group of people will talk that a community also have cows in our territory. We must go and kill those cows. When the cows are shot at, these cows owners will go and kill human beings. Is this a country we want? It's not a country we want. It is a country where chaos will follow the other. For the reconciliation to come, we have one, to call for justice. We have also to call for de-escalation of falsehood, de-escalation of lies. We should not be liberators that spread lies to achieve goals. If you want to achieve your goals by inciting your tribe, you will end up having no tribe. Okay? Because incitement does not help. War is not good. It never rewards anyone. And if you think you will kill one person and go in hiding, that person that has been killed has somebody behind them. They will come also and kill you. This becomes something that will not bring results. We now need to reflect. There is need for reflection. And we need to have a spirit that is very much nationalistic in nature, so we can be able to achieve a goal. But if we think with the current spirit, where somebody is only fighting for his cousins, for his tribe, for a section of his tribe, you are not going to go far. This is truth. Try it and you will fail. We know this. It has not worked.
Thank you. Thank you, Doctor. I hear it from your lips that war is not good. And you yourself, you are making war with President Kiir. That's why you jump into the bush, right? Okay,
You
today,
see,
are you convinced? Are you convinced that, as you said, war is not good? Uh, if I hurt you now, because I hear it from you, war is not good. If I hurt you now, that Dr. Sunday, war is not good. Go back to South Sudan and sit, and you will not be anything in the government, and denounce your positions and your rebellious movement. Uh, would that happen? Because war is not good. Because you are one of the faction who is fighting also, and you said
well,
war is not good.
well, there are several definitions to war. One definition is an outrageous war where you kill indiscriminately. Okay? There are wars that are conventional in nature, where forces that are armed are supposed to target each other and not the civilians. When I say war is bad, that is not a surrender, and it is not reflective that I have relinquished my political objectives. That is not it. War also can be fought without weapons. It can be fought objectively. If I articulate issues better, like when your President Biden made it obvious that he had better ideas that will serve America than the sitting president, then in the person of President Donald Trump, he won the election. It was war, but it was a cool war that was not spilling blood. The war I call bad here is a war that kill innocent women, is a war that kill innocent children, is war that kill foreigners that are passing on the roads, including the church people. That is a war that is not good. These people are going to pray somewhere. You have heard of nuns that were killed on the way. And now the opposition and the government do not even want to accept the responsibility. Okay? Tomorrow morning, people are found dead, and they were shot at, and the cars are burning. And those people who are actors will say, no, 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 it was not me. That war is destroying our country. Why would an old mama who is going to a refugee camp be killed on the way? Why would a cattle herder who is not even associated with any political matters be killed? That is a factor. Do these wars reach Salva Kiir? They don't reach him. They end up on the streets. And how do we affect Salva Kiir like this? We cannot affect him to create a positive change because we are in foreign countries enjoying the loots that we had in our country the other time and claim to be liberators. This is pretense. There is no liberation that is part-time.
Thank you, Dr. Sunday. What are the potential outcomes if the peace agreement fails to hold?
The potential outcomes, if peace agreement is failing, are one, more suffering. That is obvious. People will suffer more. There will be continued underdevelopment. The change that is expected is not going to come. And if there is ever a change, it would be change for the worse. That is the meaning of continuity of war. Now, Riek Machar, Teny, and Kir Mayar, despite the bottlenecks that they face on the implementation process of the agreement that they signed in Khartoum, they still hold to each other because they have known there would be no benefit in whole-scale fighting where innocent people will be sacrificed. And they are also working. There are laws that are already being formulated. We do not have a formula that will overhaul the system in South Sudan in one day. It's not going to happen. The oppositions currently that are playing with time and energy without even resources to fight Salva Kiir are actually lying to be contributing to the country. The fact is, are we contributing? Are we contributing? There is an ongoing constitutional making process. How will this agenda of ours be incorporated there? It will not. We are only here trying to say we will do it better when we truly do not have the contribution. What is Malong's contribution to the matters of South Sudan? Zero. What is Thomas Chirilo's contribution to the matters of South Sudan? Zero. What is Pagana Mom's contribution to the matters of South Sudan? Zero. What is Sunday De John's contribution to the matters of South Sudan? Zero. And it is true for the rest. We are calling ourselves opposition. We're not organized. We're not one. And we think we will contribute. There is a parliament that is formulating laws. Despite the bottlenecks, they are doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things each day. And we're not there. That is one aspect. I am not advocating this pride of saying, I cannot go to South Sudan. Whose home is it? It's for all of us. You cannot only go there if it is unsafe for you. You cannot only go there if you are not given the tools to participate. They are only pretending. It is not an issue of position. They say, I reject the position. But if you have ideas that you will implement, will you implement them on the streets? You cannot implement them on the streets. You have to have responsibility. And that is what I like in one of the chapters of that agreement. There's something called responsibility sharing. Okay? We want to say, we want to overhaul the government and put a federal system in place. And we are somewhere in Europe. We are somewhere in Nairobi or Kampala. How is it going to happen? And Kir is going. The country is going, actually, is moving. Whether to a wrong or a right direction is moving. And we are not part of it. Okay? How will we catch a streamer that is ahead few miles from us? This is what I was saying. So I am not denouncing, but if there is peace process that would guarantee that participation in the matters of South Sudan will involve everybody, why would I be here? It's not an issue of survival or death. It's an issue of bettering the country.
Thank you, Doctor.
Always say, if you want something done well, do it yourself.
Thank you, Dr. Sunday, for answering my question briefly. I will take you away from talks of St. Gideon in Rome. And I know you are a youth with very good analyzing problems. And there are some youth issues that going on in South Sudan. They are affecting. That's why some youth left the country and some are in the jail. And recently, one of our fella, BR, was jailed and stayed for a very long time in the jail and later was released and left the country. And he recently come back to the media and he apologized for something that he have said in the future. What is your take on DRBR apology toward President Kiir?
Thank you again for this exploratory question. In fact, I know Dr. Biaraja. We have done one thing then, bringing our wrestlers together from different parts of South Sudan, basically, the Central Equatoria, represented by the Mondari community and the Yerul community, plus now the Jonglei community, comprising of the communities that wrestle, the Twitch Board and Duk. So they actually wrestled, and we were together with Biar. We knew each other. And Biar was not directly involved in politics. He is a technical person that was advocating for a positive change in the country, where he mentioned in different fora the idea of generational exit, which he expounded on this forum the other day. And when he was in these youth activities, whether by mistake or by design, he was arrested when he did not do anything. He was not associated with any opposition group. And so he was arrested, and we have seen the length of time he spent in prison without proper definition. He's just a scholar who has ideas that he shares with the younger people on preparation that we are a generation. Who next is us? So Biar was later on arrested and released following the clemency that was given after the skirmishes between the prisoners and the government of the day. And they later on came out together with brother Carbino, Wolagok. And when he was out, he sought for medical attention here in Nairobi. Although I did not meet him in person, I knew he was here through other people that are associated with him and that are also associated with me. So I knew he was here. And eventually, he was again targeted from here. You understand? When he was targeted from here, he left this country through help of the international community or the people he knew. I cannot know very much. His personal matter. And eventually, he decided now to openly oppose the government as a consequence of how they badly treated him, and also as somebody who was interested in seeing a prosperous country. During those days, we really advocated for our country. We fought. You see, Biar is a son of Ajaga Gudao, and Ajaga Gudao and my father are colleagues. We knew each other from that angle with Ajaga Gudao before I could see his sons, Deng and Biar, and I'm closer to Deng more than to Biar in some ways. And eventually, what happened is Biar was now telling the government of South Sudan, you are wrong here and there, wherever he is, just like we do here. And there are circumstances where you can be compelled to say certain things when you are truly unhappy. And so he addressed the issues of the country in different fora, but he eventually insulted at a personal level the president of the country, that is himself, Salva Kiir Mayardit, through a Kenyan media. That one went viral, and you know very well from the angle of us human beings, there is time for recollection. If you have made recollection and you have found that you have infringed on the right of others, the best thing you can do is, since the words you have already expressed cannot be retrieved, is to express your apology with a regret thereafter. This would tell the other party that what you did was wrong, you infringe on their rights, and that does not take you away from discussing the matters. To me, I don't condemn Biaraja for having apologized to President Salva. In the first place, President Salva is an elder. If we don't like it or we like it, he's an elder. My age is not my age mate, is not Biar's age mate, is not age mate of others. And by our upbringing, especially in the Jiang community, elders are not a subject of discussion, leave alone insulting them. That is one. And pertaining the upbringing of Biar has every right to express this to an elder in the person of the President Salva Kiir. That is one. Like any other Jiang elder in the cattle camp or in the village or in any town, we cannot insult anybody the way Biar did and without regret. No. So I first appreciate Biar for expressing his regret and in form of apology that was completely authentic based on the follow-up statements that he made in the media. That is one. Number two, Kiir is a head of state and the government. We might be opposing him, but he's a symbol of South Sudanese. Inside the country or outside the country, our president is President Salva Kiir Mayardit. And as a symbol of the nation, regardless of his weaknesses as a person or his strength as a person, we are not supposed to go personal. Personalities are not subject of discussion in political issues. We are supposed to differ on national matters. And as we are differ with Kiir and others on national matters, that one is a question that cannot be asked. We don't need to touch there. But when he goes into the personality of somebody, it is wrong. And Biar has known it. And he came out openly and he made an apology. He deserves being appreciated. I think I made a comment on his Facebook page telling him that you have done the right thing. As younger generation that will flock together in the near future, we are supposed to complement each other when a matter of sensibility has arisen, so as to demonstrate that we also have sensibility. Biar is a scholar. Biar is a scholar that cannot be taught on how to make analysis on matters. So he made an analysis and he found that he was guilty and then apologized. As head of state and as an elder, his apology is well placed. If somebody is somewhere there with sinister motives to say this apology was expressed in a bad way, Biar has done his part. Just like Herod washed his hands during the crucifixion of Christ, having found him not guilty. And he said, what should I do this? The crowd was always calling out for Barabbas. And he was trying to bring their attention that what can he do to Jesus? And they only shout that crucify him. They do not even want to make explanation. So Herod's hands were washed, and eventually Christ was crucified, but he knew he was innocent. What I want to imply here is Biar has made his part, and he has no regret whether Kir accepts this or not, because he has known he was guilty and he has expressed it to the public in good heart. And so, as fellow citizens, we compliment that. There are people also who have made analysis deeper than that. They claim that there are internal political matters that are happening, and perhaps some political figures in the country could have demanded Biar to do this as a way of returning him to the country. With apology or without apology, South Sudan belongs to South Sudanese. Whether now or later, South Sudanese will all come back home, as long as they are alive. So Biar is in exile for only fear of his life, but he's a South Sudanese. If he is given the opportunity today to choose, he will never fail to choose South Sudan many times. He was in the USA before, or in Kenya before, or elsewhere before. But he ended up being in South Sudan and getting involved in the matters of South Sudan. I have not here to come and help. I have not come here to help Biar with his apology, but I am happy with what he has done as a young person. And that is what I did when I was the spokesperson of South Sudan United Front. I have a principle that I said should not be broken. I have asked the complementary forces, especially in the social media, and also the leadership, that if we insult Kir, are we going to win? They said no. If we insult Kir, will we make South Sudan a better place? No. We can only question his ideas and not his personality. When I'm told insult Kir like this, insult Kir like that, I am a spokesperson to advocate for positivity of my movement. And as somebody that talks for the organization, I do not have interest to know about somebody's family and insult them accordingly. No. I have to know about South Sudan and articulate the issues accordingly. I cannot win by insulting Bolmakur. I cannot win by going lower to insult Madid Majak or Brother Tiengpol. That does not give me leverage over my enemy. So we are not supposed to be insulters. We are supposed to be critics that articulate issues that would even touch those that are at war with us. If I tell Salva Kiir today that South Sudanese are suffering, he will not deny it. Because when he is in his convoy and is moving along the road, he will see people begging. That is a reflection of suffering. If he goes to Juba Teaching Hospital or Sabah Hospital, he will definitely find children have no oxygen to support them in their breathing, and they are dying because of that. He will hear tomorrow morning that Twij Mayardit and Ngo Obabia are fighting over a land that is not even important as far as the issues are concerned currently. Brothers cannot fight over matter that is trivial. Okay? He cannot deny that people are dying in Malakal, people are dying in other places like Punjab as a consequence of Johnson Olin versus the rest, or as a consequence of Garwidwal versus the rest, or people are dying in Mayom, or people are dying elsewhere in the Republic of South Sudan, including the recent fighting in Kwerji Okay, that was happening a day back. These things, if I say them, and even Kir would differ with me, he will know I have not infringed on his rights. These are matters of common concern. They involved our citizens and us, and we have to talk about them to right them so that our country can be peaceful, prosperous, and a country that we can always be happy about it. If I tell Kir today that where is the resources that we get from our, where is the proceeds of the resources that we have, like our oil? That one would not be taken personal. But if I insult him with the other insults, like I tell you now, Bolmakur, Gwejamo, is that a good thing? I cannot insult you like that. Okay? That is irresponsible. And if I have done it mistakenly, I can still come back to you and tell you, Bol, I am mistaken. Forgive me. And I believe you will forgive me. So the apology of Biara Jack is well placed. It's not a bad thing. He's responsible. Not every
Thank
man
you.
Full of pride and accept that Bulmakura is right. Unless you are
Thank you. Thank you, Doc.
From politician, we will still see the results.
Thank you, Dr. Sante. And not even anyone of my generation ever tell me, Bolmakur Gwechamo.
Yes. No, it doesn't matter. It is not useful.
I always protected the name Makur, because it's a very bright name. When somebody said Bolmakur, if somebody tell Bolmakur this, anyway, and Bolmakur did not do this, I feel that my dignity and my, my background, my norms have been disrespected. So I have to, even if I'm not fighting back with the hands, I have to let that person know he shouldn't be talking like that to me. But anyway, thank you, Dr. Sunday. I want to bring you back to other matters. We were knowing that peace negotiations will begin again on 8th of May, and it is not been let's go to happen. Do you think it is this war going on in Sudan affecting it?
Well, the war affecting Sudan is not supposed to hold other matters of South Sudan. South Sudan is not made up of one person. There are so many people, including in the government of South Sudan. So they can undertake complementary responsibilities. South Sudanese can be involved in solving problems of other nations, but what matters most to them is their own problem. So I don't think it is war in Sudan. Dr. Banaba has gone to the UK, as I have seen in the photos. And while there, I do not know, maybe it could have been the reason why the talks were not happening. But what I know at best is the negotiations are not happening under the auspices of Sant'Egidio when the parties have good faith. The bottom line here is good faith. There is no goodwill, because there are always no breakthroughs that come from these talks. The government of South Sudan comes and they do not have a goodwill. And they also get the opposition who are not having a goodwill. And here, Sant'Egidio is actually being played in a bad way by these warring factions. Maybe because they do not have a whip to crack on any of them, or maybe because they are patient enough to see the end results. But from 2019, 20, 21, 22, 23, today is a very long time for peace talks. Even the comprehensive peace agreement did not go beyond 4 years. It was started. Yes, it took time, but people were actually taking time because they were discussing important matters. But these talks end up with a declaration of principles that are too trivial and that do not have any meaning as far as the conflict and its consequences on South Sudanese are concerned. Okay? This one is not a country to country war, it's a civil war. It is happening between or among the elements of the same country. How do you take a long way to talk of borders that are not important? 1956 borders, so land of this community, land of that community. This, I refer to them as administrative matters. Will we solve maybe a dispute on pieces of land in a certain town, say Juba, Yirul, Malakal, solve them in Rome? The land dispute in Rome will be solved by Roman courts and Roman institutions that are involved in that matter. We cannot discuss, for example, constitutional making process in Rome. We can only agree that we will make a constitution to ourselves. And this will be discussed in South Sudan. Constitutions are not made by political parties. They are made by technical expertise who have knowledge on what is good for the country. What the politicians do is to endorse them with the spirit that would promote the nation. There will be no the system of governance that will be enforced on a country. Political ideology. For example, if Americans say they are social democrats or they are democrats, capitalists, it is not a factor that requires fighting. It is a factor that requires influence and understanding. Is this one right? Why would somebody reject something that is right? These are the factors that people dwell on. But what we should dwell on is how do we make our society cohesive and free from death that is brought about naturally by arms? This is the question people need to ask. And then you think later on of constitutional making process, which is very important. But it is not going to be written in Nairobi or in Rome or anywhere else. Our constitution will be written in our place of choice as South Sudanese. Like the current constitution that we have today, that is referred to as transitional constitution, that was amended in 2011, was written in the territories of South Sudan, from Afax in Rumbek to other places. Okay? So this thinking of allowing the nature to take its course is myopic. We cannot solve our problem by saying the current regime will lose all its elements and then we will come to the country. It's not possible. Okay? While they lose the elements that are here, we will be able also to see new elements coming into their shoes. Assuming today the government in Juba falls, will people in America reach Juba and now enter J1 and become the presidents? Are there no others there in Juba that will, even women can take over? Because they also have brains, they have ability, they can take over. They are closer there. The closer we come to our country, the lesser the negative impact that we are today seeing would be. Because problem of South Sudan is solvable. It is only being made hard by creating lies around it. If we lie too much, we will become believers of our own lies and they will not be accepted to bring the nation together. I think the process in Rome has been marred by these parties because their ego precedes what they are even fighting for. They have a bigger ego than their agenda. And if your ego is bigger than your agenda, you will have no time to discuss your agenda. They also do not have a defined role, defined goal. They are like gamblers, trying this and that with the hope of scoring points. I am not afraid to say the truth, and I will continue saying it. I know they will come out saying this and that, but my answers will be very simple. They are part-time opposition. not in touch with the reality about South Sudan? That would even postpone the peace talks because their jobs demand that they should not leave. They were out last month. They are out there shifting the agenda of addressing the problem from the roots to a roundtable conference to install a government of technocrats when they know Riek Machar is intelligent, when they know Kir is intelligent. How will I remove Kir by saying that we need government of technocrat? You are not a technocrat, leave. There are mechanisms that can remove Kir, and they have to be within the constitutional framework. Okay? If we begin to talk like, leave me, the consequences will always be dire.
Thank you, Dr. Sunday. What about an allegation that which was written on Facebook, though I did not collect the sources, but if somebody wanted, I will bring it. It was mentioned that even the round table, it was an idea of the party who went to negotiate in Rome. So whose idea was? Was it the idea of the rebel who were left out?
It was a product of brainstorming. And you know these non-signatories, when they see anything passing by, they grab it and they call it theirs. We have deliberated on this a number of times with other organizations. You know very well, there are so many opposition groups actually. There is an alliance, a big alliance headed by Dr. Akim Dario. It's a big, big one. When they apply to Rome, it is us, the non-signatories, then who call ourselves Soma, who rejected them. And they are South Sudanese. Okay? There are also other organizations that are there. Okay? Those that are headed by Simon Deng. And there are others that we know pertinently, like Stephen Boy and the rest. They are being rejected in Rome by the non-signatories. We don't want them. We will deal with the government. And at times on their behalf. This idea came up when the PPC wrote to organizations demanding a convergence so that people can brainstorm together. PCCA, okay? Dr. Awolej and his colleagues. When it came to our table, we actually talked about it and how best it can be done so it serves the country. It was a creation of a platform, okay? But these non-signatories will create an alliance with you, and they also have their alliance inside, okay? They deal with you at the outside, but at the core, they have their own matters. Here, there is no clean heart. Here, there is no clear mind. Here, no one objective. Here, no one goal. And then they move forward, continuing to fight. Fight to where? Guerrilla warfare in this modern era, and you think you will liberate your people? No. Fight real war. Capture Juba like a Metis did, and you will maybe overthrow the government. But if you are on the roads, you are only making your people suffer more. Okay? So they block us, and the government think we should die here in the bushes. Good with them. There is no city always be happy to call anybody that is against them that come here. It is only happening because of a pressure and the needs. It is saying is roundtable debt. I don't know. I don't know. But I said it is a stillbirth. From how it was designed to the way they want it to be done, with exclusion of the other opposition, of course, it's not going to survive. How will it survive? It's not an agenda that has put South Sudanese to war. Okay? The agenda that put South Sudanese to war are the issues that we were to address, but the group decided to skip it. They think the idea is seasonal. Idea should be permanent. Okay? Garang was fighting Islamic fundamentalism with the defined goal that he wants to create a new Sudan. The definition of New Sudan was well articulated. We need a secular country that is not going to be governed with Islamic law. One. We need a country that does not discriminate against any of its citizens. Two, we need equality in all aspects. Development or justice should be delivered equally to all Sudanese. Those ones were known. But these part-time oppositions do not have this in mind. They have small agenda,
Thank you.
tribal, sectional, and at times even personal.
Thank you, Dr. Sunday. Before we end our show, I would like to ask you that what are what are the advice now you want to give to the parties who negotiate with the government before we end our show? What is your message to them?
My message to them is very simple. They should rethink and be inclusive. These people that they accuse that they are part of the government, they are what? Are only speculations and they do not have any meaning. What is going to be meaningful is coming together of the opposition so that they can become a formidable force. This force does not necessarily need to be very lethal in terms of weapons or killing mechanisms. It has to be lethal in the terms of ideas. The ideas they have that exclude the rest of the country are shallow. They need to be different. They need to think critically. For example, the advocacy of Malung that was put in his mind by his cousins that have now abandoned him and went to Juba as they were agents of the government from the beginning was that I support the government of South Sudan and perhaps I have connection with the security sector headed by a Kolokor. That is a lie. It was them. And because I deny them the inside matters of the movement, they ended up creating a statement that they made to the public. And because of the myopia of the rest, they want to buy into it. My friend, when I went to Ethiopia, I was a kid and I did not surrender. What will happen now at this age when I have the right tools to survive anywhere in the world? My point is very simple. We need to make South Sudan better. Okay? With or without Kir, our contribution should be felt. Are we contributing? Are they contributing? What is it that they are hiding? Nothing. It's ignorance that they are hiding. And if it is ignorance that they are hiding, we cannot discuss small matters in foreign lands. We will not achieve that one. Now we ended up having no agenda. Have you ever seen agenda of Soma on Rome discussions? Did you see a paper about it?
No.
So I will be justified by time and the truth.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sunday and Paul Makur. Sorry, guys, I just came in just a short while ago, and I don't know how far you guys has gone with the questions. I don't need to repeat some of the questions which might been asked by my colleague, Paul Makur. But there is the one thing that I would like you to answer briefly, Dr. John Sunday. Thank you for coming to Lagos State Media once again. Is something regarding to coming of Johnson Olin in Juba. He sent in his mechanism team first. They were already on the ground, and there are allegations that is going on here in the social media that those people, they have rebelled or they defected from him and joined certain groups within the government who are members of the Artigono. And he's coming to Juba. We know all about Gerald Olin. His target or his fighting is not against it's not a national thing. It's something to do with the land of Solo land. Now he has accepted to come back to Juba again. This might be the third or second time. What do you think of his coming back to Juba and all these rumors? Is there anything that you can see in your prospective view politically to tell our viewers, please? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Brother Tiangton. once a colleague during our Mopodi days. And even when I was a small boy, I think I am an age mate of your brother, the ones that is younger than you. It's called Kamis. We used to play around Yurul Hospital.
That's right.
1986, 87, those years. And later on, the school was open, Yurul Boys. And then we were together. And then later on to Mopodi, if I can recall. The question you have asked me is very, very much important. And I will not answer it like I'm answering examination because of one or two reasons. One, I don't know the inside stories of the faction that is headed by General Johnson Olony. But what I know is after they signed agreement, they were generals within the movement of Dr. Riek Machar. And because of 1, 2, 3 misgivings, they ended up being outside the agreement as they made a declaration that they called Kitgwang Declaration. And the Kitgwang Declaration ended up in keeping the two big generals of Riek Machar in the person of Olony and Simon Gadwich Dwal out of anything that is happening in Juba. And their call was so simple that the security arrangement has not gone according to how it is written in the agreement and per its schedule. That is actually what they said. But later on, after some time, they also negotiated with the government of South Sudan, represented by Tut Galwak and his delegation in Khartoum. I think they had an agreement that was to be implemented. With the time, the agreement did not go as planned. And that one ended up in creating a rift between Gadwich and Olony, who now became again Kitgwang faction with the sub-factions in it. And they begin to have war against each other. What matters most is nobody will use a gun to win war and get the solution to himself or herself. Whether you are fighting for land matter, whether you are fighting for other matters like the governance or economic issues or security issues, you'll still have to sit down and talk. Johnson Olony has fought more than any of the oppositions that are outside here now, except Simon Gadwich. He has known the pros and cons of war. And if he has seen this will not bring any results to his people, he cannot continue with war. He can also go for the alternative solutions, including sitting down with the government and ensure that the rights of his people are guaranteed in a manner that is very much peaceful. You have seen there were a number of things that happened. Chuluk or Cholo in the Republic of South Sudan is one of the organized communities. And it's also endowed with elements that are gifted in many ways, good thinkers and educated ones. I have interacted with them. I have gone to Malakal with some of my colleagues, one I just saw a week back. They are endowed with thinking capacity. And they are under one umbrella. Reth Kwongdak Pidiet is a community leader, regardless of you being a politician or not. When I was in Khartoum, I knew even Adwok Nyaba, who was appointed the Minister of Higher Education, was staying in the house of the king because he did not see himself as a superior authority other than his king. And there are good relationships among them. So in this sense, we do not know what transpired with Olony. But you cannot have sustained war on your people. It becomes a disaster. You can only have a sustained war with an enemy. there would be no single day that I would fight with Tiangfol for a complete 1 year without seeking for solutions. Because Tiangfol is a brother. If I begin to kill his wife, go to his children, he is also killing my sons and daughters. What is the gain at the end of the day? We better sit down with Tiang and find an amicable solution that will guarantee the goodness of his people and the goodness of my people. And we live. You only fight to finality with somebody that you will never share anything with. But South Sudan is a shared territory. If you really want, for example, if I want today to remove Yerul from South Sudan, with hope that I will attach it maybe to Central Africa or to Uganda, it is not going to happen that day I have thought of it. Even as South Sudanese, when we decided to remove our current territory, we did not start that we are going to separate our territory. We would have not been joined by other nationalities or other people from other places. If we were fighting for the source alone, what could have been the reason of Mansour Khalid being with us? He is an Arab. What could have been the reason for Yasser Araman being with us? What could have been the reason of Malik Agar and the company plus the Nubians being with us? The objective was simple. We need a transformed Sudan, and that is called New Sudan. So Johnson Olin knew about this, and I do not think he has done anything wrong. There are always laugh here outside by part-time oppositions. Johnson was there, smelling fire every day, seeing what happened to people on the ground. He knew the consequences are not good for the citizen. He has a big force. He can loot your goats and eat them. There is no problem. He will be comfortable. But are all his people comfortable? No. If you are a man of the people, there must be time of reflection. And if you can reflect, you are not a coward. You are only strong. That is the right description for you. I can be able, in this house that I am in now, to surrender to my wife because I cannot generate too much conflict that will affect our young children. When I know I'm stronger than her, if we were to fight, I'll beat her. Okay? But does that mean it is worth it? No. You can forego certain things when you are having a foresight where you can see things from a bigger perspective. I do not know whether the delegation of Oleny has defected, but I have heard that Oleny will be in Juba as a consequence of the agreement that they jointly signed with Gadwich Dwal. And Gadwich, given the right platform, given the right ideas, given the right integration process, he is not going to be anti-South Sudanese. My brother Paul, no. The current people that are called rebels or opposition were the liberators of yesterday. They have South Sudan at heart. Even if they differ the much, they will still seek for alternative solutions that will make South Sudan not to continue wallowing in the current state it is in. For the economic transformation, there is no amount of bullets that we will shoot into South Sudan that will make our economy prosper. We will still use our brains to think positively on what to do to revive the economy of the country and make it good for everyone. These things that are said, oh, people are begging, are realities. It is not how many times you say them that will better them. You have to ask yourself, our citizens have become beggars, people are dying of hunger, there is no hospitals, also roads are not there. What is it that I should do to make this better? This is the question we can ask. If it is removal of Kir, how many years have people fought? And it is only the citizens that are the victims. Don't we have alternative way of removing him? If you are truly strong, if these people you claim to represent are on your side, how can't you make it possible to win against Kir during elections? And we see if Kir will pick gun because he did not win to shoot the people, this will become a different question. All in all, these wars, when they become protracted or when they become prolonged, the consequences are always on the citizens that have no any other way to survive elsewhere. Even our refugees here are not living better than the oppositions. Believe me, we all have been to refugee camps. Okay? What General Thomas Chirilo, what Malong is eating today, what Pagan is eating, what I am eating today is not equal to what the refugees are eating in the refugee camps. Leave alone those that are impoverished inside the country. Let us look for alternative solution. It's not only for the opposition. It's not for Johnson Oleng. It's not for Simon Garwit. Even the government of South Sudan should be realistic about the plight of the citizen of the country. They have to make a comprehensive peace. It's vital for all of us. This peace that is made with preconditions that you denounce your political interests, you denounce what, that is not it. Let us have peace. And let us have these political interests. Others will naturally drop their interests. Because if you know you are with a citizen and you do not have influence over them, why would you continue with politics?
Thank you.
Politics is all about people. I think I have answered you.
Yeah.
But when is going to Juba is a positive connotation. Chuluk should not be subjected to wars that they have not demanded for. And the land of Chuluk or the land of anybody around them is not going to go away. Young Paul, you were in Yerul, but you are from Rumbek. But you live in Yerul most of your time. When you left, did you take that land with you?
No.
You see, if you go back today, you'll still get it. Because there will be no single day that Yerul will be occupied until there will be no space. Me, I go to Rumbek. Okay? My uncle has a land there, Isaiah Lier Machinko, the former Speaker of the Assembly. We live there. But when we were given an administrative area, he was an MP and his position was moved to Yerul. So he came and he left that house empty. He did not carry it on his back. This South Sudan is not going anywhere. You will claim this is my land, and there are areas that have never been touched with people's feet. Young Paul, if I ask you today, that what is it that is inside Rora Jok, you will not tell me. What is it that is inside Rora Chwalakol, you will not tell me. South Sudan, there is no scarcity of land. There is only negative connotation about land. We cannot fight over land. We are not enough. We cannot completely occupy South Sudan as a whole. Whether you want to cultivate, whether you want to have a range of animals, whether you want to create a zoo of your own, it is possible in South Sudan. Let us make these matters so simple. We should not dwell on nonsense. Hatred cannot make you successful. It will only cut your tail if you have one. I think that is, land of Shuluk is not going anywhere.
Absolutely.
Nobody will ever take it. It will not go anywhere. It's going to be there. And Chuluk are not going anywhere. They will always be South Sudanese. So there is no point I would today go and be an opposition if I just don't want to better South Sudan. Because Rumbek and Yerul are not in dispute with anyone. Okay? It would
now
be a land. My house will be knocked down if it is in the wrong place. And I'll still go elsewhere and make another tukul. And life goes on. Let us think positively about our country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sunday De John, for elaborating it more and share your perspective view with the viewers. Correct. I think maybe this question also might be asked already, and my brother Bol will come up and I will yield him back the microphone for the closure. You guys have been here for more than 1 hour and a half. But there are some keyboard warriors who are just inciting the crisis again to happen in South Sudan, comparing it that they just want to imitate what is happening in Sudan. That could happen in Juba as well. And these things has been going on in the social media, especially the Clubhouse. People are discussing a lot, and they trying to mobilize the tribes against tribes, and the targeting Dinka tribe. They have just need to come together like Sholo and other tribe. What advice can you give these keyboard warriors who are inciting the war to happen, or to have clashes coming up again to happen in the country? And we fed up with all this. Our refugees are still stranded in refugee camps and outside of the country, and within the country, people are suffering, as you have mentioned it before. You can get some people begging on the street. Other faculties or people, they don't even get payment, monthly payment. You can go 3 or 6 months without getting your salary. Why do we initiating the war? What advice can you give? And I will yield back the microphone to my brother, who is the host, Bolmakur, to finalize the show later after you weigh in. Thank you so much, Dr. Ari.
Okay, thank you very much, Brother Tiangpol. On that question, incitement is a vice, it's not a virtue. There is nowhere that you would be celebrated in this world that you have incited a person against the other or a community against the other. My statement to those people is very simple. Whatever they have thought about it is not helpful to their societies. It's a law of nature, which was later on made public by Isaac Newton, that against any action there is a reaction. These clubhouse talks have happened many times. Some of them have been even discussing on how a community will go against the other. It did happen, but the consequences were not very good. Okay? In my watch, there has been nothing like Teng in Tomomonjang that has been organized when I'm there against a certain community, and then it survived because I know the consequences. You have the intention to go and kill, but those who are going to be killed have a natural right of self-defense. And when they defend themselves well, you will end up being the one killed. You see, it is like a two-edged sword. Okay? If you do not handle it well, it will also cut you. This intercommunal conflict, South Sudanese who call themselves elites, who call themselves intellectuals, who call themselves people who have known the workings of the world, should reflect and avoid sectional conflicts. They are only harmful to those that instigate them, just like they are harmful to those that would be affected by them. I don't speak for Dinka, although I am Dinka. I don't see this ethnic division as something that would make our country a better place. We can always be South Sudanese first and our tribes later. Now you are in Australia. There are others in USA. Where in the USA where people identify themselves with the tribes? Not true. They identify themselves with the state. Bolmakur will proudly say that I am from Texas. Madid will proudly say I am from Michigan. You will say I am from Australia, Victoria, or any other state where you are in. If you think like that, the friction will be lower. The conflict will even disappear. And what will come up is healthy competition. Because if we give ourselves time, we will be able to be critical thinkers that will make laws that will make our country a better place, where our competition will only be reflected in the content of our character, but not where we come from. There are so many sections within Dinka that are suffering. whether as a consequence of intercommunal suffering or a consequence of just mere neglect and lack of job. Okay? But they do not say it is the Equatorian that do this. They say it is the government of South Sudan. The government of South Sudan is not Dinka government. As we are speaking, Salva Kiir Mayardit is the head. Riek Machar is the vice president. Waniga is a vice president. Taban Denga is a vice president. Hussein Abdelbag is a vice president. Mama Rebecca is a vice president. We have ministers. Name them. The Speaker of the Assembly in the person of Nunu Jemba. Name them. This government is a government of all South Sudanese. But what we can say is they did not do what South Sudanese want. So I cannot go and fight the community of James Wani or community of Nunu Kumba just because they are in the government with Kir. Kir is not there to represent Dinka. He is there as a head of state representing everyone in South Sudan. And if he has mistakes, we can replace him or blame him as Kir and not Dinka. We can blame Wani as Wani, who is in the government of South Sudan, whose government is not functioning well, and not Bari. Is it Bari who put Wani in that seat? Is it Dinka who puts Kir in that seat? No, it's South Sudanese. This myopic thinking is too small, and it has to cease. My message also to the Dinka is that reserve yourself. Reserve yourself. Not because Kir come from you, but because those other people that you attack or that are attacking you do not have any good reason that you should fight with them. All in all, tribalism is a disease. And those that are propagating it will not be successful in disadvantaging the other one. There are other questions that come up, that there are more ministers from this community and from that community. The selection of the government officials is solely dependent on the policies of an institution that governs the country, like a political party that has won today. Assuming today, my brother Tiem, there were elections to be conducted, and somebody like, say, Wani contested against Kir and he won't win the election, suppose he will even have more government officials from Dinka than the paradox that people say. Simply because he will use the national agenda to spread the leadership. And definitely, he will find himself surrounded by Dinka. If you are the majority also as Dinka, you don't use that one to disadvantage others. We have said this many times. In the spirit of nationalism, in the spirit of a country, nobody should be better than the other. We have to be better just based on individual work. Like when we go to school, not all of us will become number one. But that does not prevent us that we are classmates. We are learning just the grading. The content you have, I have it. Only a slight aspect. Maybe as a consequence of the examination that I wasn't prepared well and you were prepared well. So South Sudan, these people are actually destroying it. They are not making it better. They are not any better than the government of the day. And I want citizens of Sudan to reflect on themselves. They should not always be incited by people who will not practically participate in the conflict. These people talk too much in the clubhouses. And all the things they say are very negative to their country. And they know this. but they still continue with it. Is hate speech a virtue? No. Is it even permitted by American laws? No. It is not even permitted by Australian laws. Yeah. And so, if they know they don't spread hate speech in USA, where they are, in Canada, in America, I mean Australia or Europe, or other parts of Africa, why are they very happy reflecting it back home? There are people who have lost their cousins. Let me give you a small statement here. There is a gentleman whose name I will not say. He's a friend. When he was here in Nairobi, we were in a coffee place, taking our coffee, and there was an ongoing conflict in his village between his community and the neighboring community. And he was on phone talking to his cousins and brothers that you defeat them today. When the fighting started, the phone was cut because people are fighting. And after 1 hour of fighting, he picked his phone to call his brother. And the phone was picked by a member of the community that they were attacking. And he was told that I am a different person holding your brother's phone. He is dead. I have killed him. He came back crying, and I told him, get away. Don't come closer to me. Because you are stupid. I cannot incite my brother and tell him, kill them, when I know those people also kill. There is nothing good in incitement. Correct. There is nothing good in tribalism. If you think you will use tribal agenda, my friend, you will not be successful in South Sudan. We will reject that.
Thank you.
Whether you are a Dinka or from any other community, we will not tolerate your tribalism. It cannot take us anywhere.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Sunday DeJohn. Bol Makur, if you are ready there, you can just come up and we close the show. Together, I yield back the microphone to you. You pick up from here and you can end out the show. Thank you. Thank you so much. And all our viewers who have been with us for the beginning of the show up to now, we have to say thank you so much. We'll catch up again. I will yield back the microphone to Bol Makur to officially close, to give his final remarks, and to you as well. Thank you. Bol, take over.
Thank you, Isaac. I would like you to hang on there. It was great that you come in for it. Dr. Sunday, I believe that I don't have any other remarks. We are going to ask you if you have something that we have not covered. Come in and talk about it, and then we will close the show. Thank you.
Come again?
Your final remarks, if you have any, your final remarks for the closure.
Okay. Thank you very much. You know what? South Sudan is our home. And it's going to remain our home. No matter how far we travel, it will always be part and parcel of any individual that has traveled that I am a South Sudanese. Whether you have American passport, you have Australian passport, you have what, the home is always the best. And what we can do is, you don't defecate in your house. Let us be a positive force to South Sudan. Wallahi, we should be a positive force to South Sudan. If you think that you are in a foreign country and this will be a leverage of only throwing the debt to your country, the country will not be happy with you. And if the country is not happy with you, you will not have peace. Peace does not mean the absence of war. Even if you are disturbed in your conscience or conscience, that is lack of peace itself. You will have nightmares. Let us think of South Sudan as a whole. And anybody who think is going to carve a small land of South Sudan out and take it to wherever he is, is going also to fail. On top of this, we have bigger matters that are important to our country. One, our borders are being encroached on. We have seen the territories of South Sudan bordering Kenya and bordering Uganda have been encroached on. Sudan always come to raise down a bear to ashes. We have Mail 14. We have places like Pantau, even with its oil. We are wasting ourselves in internal wars, killing each other. If these young men and young women that die every day were to die because they are defending our territorial integrity, who will cry? Who will cry? I lost my mother to war when I was only a small child of 3 months. And my grandmother said she has nothing to cry for because her daughter died for a good reason. She also lost sons to the liberation struggle. And I believe the war of liberation struggle that led to the birth of South Sudan has touched every family in South Sudan. You, Tieng, as a son of a veteran who yourself participated, you have lost cousins in huge numbers. The same is applicable to Bolmaku. All the youth then of my village, the age mates of my father, the younger ones, the name, basically the sons of Amoninyon, we call them Baranya Piu, and the others, Mayorater, they did not come back home again since they left their mothers. Okay? But their mothers up to today have no regret because their children died for a right reason. They were defending territorial integrity. You, who is inciting your brother to go and kill a neighbor, and he dies, you will always be disturbed in your conscience. Because your brother or your sister has died for no good reason. We have reasons to die for, and not a fight between this and that. Even these days, people are killing themselves because their ankles have differed politically. This is myopic. This should be abandoned. We must stop incitement. We must embrace nationalism. Nuer are not Dinka's enemies, and the reverse is true and is also applicable to Equatoria. What we can do is maximize our strength. When I used to be a good wrestler, I don't wrestle with my cousins. Not because they are not strong, but Monjang say, you don't practice your power at home. You protect home with your power. In which why are South Sudanese not using their power to protect their country? Instead, they are using it to destroy themselves. There will be time you will cry that, oh, what is this? There is a question that skipped my mind that you asked me, that something like what happened in Khartoum will have to happen in Juba. It happened in 2016, following the 2015 agreement as a consequence of war of 2013. Its results were not good. It cannot help our country. Khartoum, as I know it, for the next how many years will not be the same again. It was going far, but it has now gone down, even if it cannot reach the level of Juba, because Juba was initiated the other day. It will not be an envy of the neighboring cities, because the streets of Khartoum have become the battlefields. And the air bombardments could fall on Bank Sudan. Where is Bank Sudan located? Think about it as a Sudanese. In Australia, your central bank is located in a strategic area where it is the safest, because it's the heart of the nation. And if bombs were to be there, is that not a disaster? It's a disaster. We don't want that thing to happen in Juba. I was with somebody called Alfred Taban Lagune. He's a son of South Sudan from Central Equatoria, and he comes from Kajokeji, to be specific, and he's a Kuku by tribe. He was like a father figure to me. And what he's taught me, I would regard it as an equivalent of the teachings of my father and my other senior uncles. When he came back to contest for the seat of the MP, he was denied a ticket by the SPLM. And when he was asked to join forces with those who were fighting, he said, I will never do. Because there is no position that is worth dying. If a position would kill people, then I don't want to go for it. Ya Jamaa Junubin, if your position would cost the country 400 people, 400,000 people, who will you govern? Who will you govern? Takim A, Engabakum, Takim Munu. This is an insult to self, and it is greed. South Sudanese are very intelligent people, but they are sophisticated in a way. Recently, I have talked with somebody from Australia, where you come. That person had a link with a senator, a member of parliament somewhere, and they discussed. And it came as a consequence of good conversation that white man that represents a section was able to reveal to that person that Salva Kiir, to that white man, is not a bad man, he's not a weak man, but is a man who is only dealing with the difficult people. A population of South Sudanese in Australia is very much smaller than a population in South Sudan itself. But their impact is felt in Australia, more so in a negative way. We have read stories about families that are stealing money from Australian government. We have read about children that are on the streets that are gangs. I'm not insulting our community, but our community is difficult to govern. And what is making it worse is the spirit of sophistry that has come up now. In the olden days, we are told not to be sophisticated by trying to make a point that is not based on any factual argument. But today, South Sudanese are arguing in a sophisticated manner. I also read in a book about an intelligent officer in the American Department of Intelligence, the FBI. He was interviewed by the journalist that what do you think will end the world? As documented, he said it is sophistry. People will create lies here, they will be propagated here, and a nuclear weapon will be thrown and the world will end. This is how we are destroying our country. We might not have nuclear weapons, but if we are losing 10 to 5 people each month or each day, that is bigger than a nuclear war. Let us think positively about our country. I salute you. I have nothing to say much now. We have to be upright. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sunday. It was great that you are here with us. It is our honor as Lake State Media, beyond boundaries. South Sudan's audience, we appreciate you for your being here with us. I will give my microphone to my colleague, the president of Lake State Media, Isaac Tieng Paul, to make his remark and close the show. Thank you. God with us.
Thank you so much, Bol Makur, and thank you, Dr. Sunday De John. We appreciate your usual coming to the studio and you share your path or your vision.
Before you close,
yes.
Isaac, I know I'll be attacked tomorrow. I'll be called all names. But I know that is how truth affects people. Should anybody have a counter argument, I'll come here again. That is my promise. Because South Sudanese hate truth these days, especially South Sudanese in opposition. If you say truth, like South Sudanese should not die, then you are an agent of Kir and Akolko.
Truth hurt.
But you who is not agent of these people, is dying of South Sudanese a good thing to you?
No.
A big no. Thank you so much, Dr. Sunny De John, and all our viewers around the globe. Good afternoon, Bol, and good morning here in Australia. It's midnight in Africa. So take your time, and now we catch up again. God bless all of you. God bless the Republic of South Sudan. Have a good day, good night, good afternoon, wherever you are tuning in. Thank you so much.
In Juba, Malatori, hey, I'm yo, in Ping William, in Benti, Walla Quadu, hey, wow, in Ping William, in Malkal, Walla Pinyaram, in Ping William.